Wait.
Hi, Keith Robinson, 27-year vet of the recruiting industry, publishing during the 80s, magazines like Personnel Today were my baby, 90s, a couple of big ad agencies, running media departments and becoming an MD, and from 2000-2005 helped build out what is now one of the UK's largest job boards and a big job board across Europe. Sitting at a great venue over in Amsterdam with a good friend of mine, Dave, talking about recruitment. And Dave said, so what's the difference between kind of what goes on in the US and what goes on in Europe? Immediate response is, we don't have a United States of Europe. The United States of America is so big. The value of recruitment is so vast. You've got recruitment in one state like California that probably is in a similar size to a country in Europe like Germany. Now that actually has some interesting implication. It means, one, you can make a heck of a lot of money in the US recruitment industry by doing things okay. And an observation, I see a lot of American companies who I think do things badly but still make money because the market's so big. But when you do things really well, wow. You know, look at what people like Monster have done and Career Builder. But the other thing is, because recruitment in the US is so big, clients aren't talking about hiring 20, 30, 40 people. You've got clients who are talking about hiring 10 or 20, 30,000. In Europe, there are probably 10 of those. So in the US, you have a development, not of technology, because actually 5 years ago there was a technology gap of about 18 months. Today, technology happens globally, immediately. Interesting enough, one of the themes of the conference has been about new ideas. There are no new ideas in recruitment, because a new idea in recruitment is picked up so quickly by the bloggers, it becomes a community within seconds. It becomes an idea within seconds. Today the challenge actually is always in execution. And I think what you see in the US are great ideas. They get executed quickly. They get actually funded well. If you look at JobStuff, phenomenal funding. So I think what you have is a market that is vibrant, lively, a lot of talent over there. Recruitment is strategic because you have the United States of America. You've got the cyber sleuthing guys like Dave and Shally doing really radical things that over here are just catching on. The difference in Europe is, because we are individual countries with individual cultures, we're only now beginning to see the concept of what I call continental recruitment. And even that is probably 500 companies. And the challenge therefore becomes the recruitment market in a country like the UK, whilst big, second biggest in the world after America, is still relatively small. And it means therefore best practice doesn't happen as quickly, innovation doesn't happen as quickly, getting funding for innovation doesn't happen as quickly, because the size of the win is actually technically smaller. One of the biggest challenges we see in Europe is a lot of American firms come to Europe, and the first thing they realize is there are no marketing platforms to market products or services across Europe. Individual countries have their own marketing platforms. They have their own ways of doing things. They have their own media solutions. And therefore, whereas in the United States you might be able to do an email blast on ERE for $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, in the UK or France, you'll spend the same amount to target maybe 5,000 people in one country. Then multiply that across 29 countries. The cost of marketing a new idea or a new technology becomes actually quite prohibitive. The positive news is we're beginning to see organisations that recognise moving talent around Europe will now be mission critical. But still, building brands in individual countries with individual cultures, with individual languages, with individual technologies will in one sense always limit us. It's why actually in Southeast Asia, countries like India and China are actually in one sense much more advanced than open technology, because the size of the win is so big, the size of the recruiting requirements are so vast, it makes you a much more adoptive culture. But it's been a great conference. It's been great having Dave over here, and to a lot of my friends in the US, I look forward to seeing you early next year. Thanks.